we're going to look at one of America's most resilient industries, payday loans. 1 in 20 households have taken one out at some point. It's a $9 billion industry, and payday loan outlets are all over the place.
There are more payday loan stores in America than Starbucks and McDonald's.
More than Starbucks or McDonald's. McDonald's! I didn't know there was more of anything in the US than McDonald's, including people and grains of sand. And the payday loan industry has only been around for just over 20 years. Even Ebola looks at that growth rate and thinks, that's impressive, you guys spread fast. And it's not just the number of companies, it's the variety. You've got Fast Cash, Cash Central, Speedy Cash, Quick Cash with the word quick spelled wrong, and Quick Cash with both quick and cash spelled wrong. Because what could be more reassuring than a business that can't correctly spell either their product or the speed at which they're getting it to you? There are so many different options that there are even services to help match you to a lender. And you cannot have avoided these ads.
Hi, Montel here. I'm Montel Williams. Hi, I'm Montel Williams from Money Mutual. Call or go to moneymutual.com. Get up to $1,000 in your checking account by tomorrow. The car repair bill, paid. The medical emergency, handled. Extra cash until payday, done.
Done! Thanks, Montel. Quick question, though. How the hell are you a financial spokesman? Hey, everyone, isn't that the guy who did that episode on how it's hard to be the less pretty conjoined twin? Everybody be quiet. This guy might have some pretty sound financial advice. When something is this popular and this prevalent, you owe it to yourself to find out exactly what it is. Much in the way that I finally gave in and read all 4 Twilight books. I'm on Team Bella, by the way. Team Bella. She doesn't need a man to define her. Team Bella, OK? I'm on Team Bella. Bella. That's not the point. The point is, what is a payday loan?
What is a payday loan? A payday loan is a quick way to get the cash you need to cover an unexpected expense, like a car repair or a doctor bill. It's called a payday loan because the loan balance is typically due on your next payday.
Oh, that does make sense. I thought it was a loan that you repaid in payday candy bars. Your way's better. Your way is better than mine. Clearly, this lady is psychotically friendly and also seems to have an appealing product. So how much might a company charge for this sort of service?
Often it's 300 or 400 percentage points on an annual basis.
Average annual rates of 570%.
Some of those rates legally are as high as 1,900% a year.
1,900%? Even the most demanding, abusive football coaches only ask for 110. Hit him in the mouth, Billy! Hit him in the mouth! Now, to be fair, payday loan companies will say these are short-term loans, so an annual percentage rate doesn't apply, which is true if you pay them off immediately. But many customers don't. One study showed that 3/4 of the industry's volume was generated by borrowers who have to re-borrow before their next pay period. Basically, payday loans are the Lay's potato chips of finance. You can't have just one, and they're terrible for you. And it's when you start missing payments that you're susceptible not just to frightening levels of interest, but also to fees that you may not have been aware of.
I was, like, I'd say maybe $6,000, like, deep. You know, every payday, I was here.
Every time I got paid, I would pay it off, and I would get another one.
An endless cycle, a dead end. I would advise anybody not to.
I borrowed $250. I thought I would pay $325. I actually paid $700, but it would have been $1,100 had I not gone to the bank and put a stop to this.
$1,100. It is not often that a metaphorical slippery slope cost as much as an actual ski vacation. Payday loan companies present themselves as a way for you to get back onto your feet. They don't want you to get trapped in debt. In fact, they'll help you if you fall behind. Remember the friendly Ace Cash lady from before?
What happens if you can't pay back your loan? Sometimes people have a hard time paying us back, and we'll be there to work with you if that should happen.
Yeah, no shit you'll be there for them. Your business model depends on it. Because an actual Ace Cash training manual for employees featured a diagram which starts with the customer applying for an Ace loan, moves through them spending the money on that loan, being unable to pay it back, and then being forced to apply for an Ace loan again. You'll notice that has a certain roundness to it. It's basically a recycling symbol for human misery. It's the circle of debt, and it screws us all. Now, obviously, we must not generalise about this shitty industry. Some companies hold themselves to a higher standard. In fact, the Community Financial Services Association of America insists that their members are different from the shadier elements of the industry. They even brag about it in one of the most boring videos on the internet.
In our industry, I mean, let's be honest, there are some companies out there that don't even follow the law, let alone follow a standard of best practices like our member companies do.
Oh, those other companies are awful. Our member companies are pillars of the community. Did you know that one of them gave a kidney to a little girl in a hospital? She was in there for tonsillitis, but now she has 3 kidneys. We're good companies. So let's take a look at their wonderful members and their best practices. First, there's Advance America, one of the biggest companies in the industry, whose co-founder defends his business like this.
The consumer demand for the product is overwhelming and speaks for itself.
OK, that's fair, although it's also worth pointing out that the customer demand for heroin is also overwhelming, and that doesn't mean it's a product you'd necessarily recommend to your friends to get them out of a jam. Advance America is a company whose best practices somehow include agreeing to an $18.75 million settlement in North Carolina after they were accused of illegally high interest rates. But they're just one of the 2 largest companies in the business. The other company is Cash America. OK, so how do they practice their best practices?
Cash America was ordered to pay $19 million in refunds and fines late last year for illegally overcharging service members and for destroying documents.
Say what you like about that. Illegally overcharging service members is a ballsy business practice. They must have been the ones driving around with those bumper stickers that say, "Extort our troops." But settlements like those are actually something of a rarity, and that brings us to why the payday loan industry is seemingly unstoppable. They are incredibly good at avoiding regulation. Just look at one example in Texas. They actually tried to rein in the payday loan industry there a few years ago, but they faced opposition from one particular state legislator.
Members, I just cannot see why this legislation could possibly be necessary unless it is the big institutions trying to squeeze the little guys.
And the little guys, in his analogy, are payday loan companies. Although I've got to say, if you spell little guys with a $sign instead of an S, you've got yourself a pretty good name for a store right there. That man is Texas State Representative Gary Elkins, and his proud defence of the little guy is about to get a little muddier.
But isn't it true that you have 12 very successful payday and title loan locations across this state?
Let me answer that question for him. It is true. It is true. He does, and they include an outpost of the wonderfully named Power Finance, Texas. Can I interest y'all in some power finance? But I apologise, I interrupted.
Isn't
We
it
don't
true
need this regulation.
that you stand to add to your personal wealth considerably by killing these bills?
You know what? That is not about the bill.
Mr. Elkins, do you know the meaning of the term conflict of interest?
Do I know it? Why, madam, I am the physical embodiment of that term at this very moment. Now, you might be thinking that woman, Vicky Truitt, is awesome, fearlessly calling out how the payday loan industry influences politicians, which is why it's going to be so hard to tell you that just 17 days after leaving office, she signed on as a lobbyist for Ace Cash Express, the Circle people. Now, thankfully, Texas also has a finance commission which oversees the payday loan industry. Guess who runs that?
William J. White is vice president of Cash America and was also appointed by the governor as chairman of the state's finance commission, which oversees payday loan outfits.
That's right. The chairman of the commission that oversees the payday loan industry is also, at the same time, a vice president of one of the biggest payday loan companies in the country. I call Dingo. I call Dingo on that man. I call Dingo on him. I call Dingo. Dingo. So let's just quickly break all of that down. If you were hoping to protect Texans from the payday loan industry, you would need to approach a commission overseen by the vice president of a payday loan company and then introduce a bill into the state legislature where the owner of 12 payday loan stores will debate the merits of the payday loan industry with one of the payday loan industry's future lobbyists. Apparently, even cluster are bigger in Texas. But the truly chilling skill payday loan companies have is not how they prevent legislation from getting passed, it's how they react when it gets through. For instance, when Illinois passed an act which applied to loans of up to 120 days, companies simply began offering loans with terms of 121 days instead, which is like betting $1 on the Price is Right. You're technically allowed to do it, but you know, you. Now, it gets worse. When Arizona outlawed payday loans, many companies shifted to selling title loans instead, which are basically the same, except they also get to take your car. For regulators, it's like playing legislative whack-a-mole. Just when you think you've squashed them down, somewhere up they pop up somewhere else wearing a completely different outfit. And the most amazing example of all of this took place in Ohio. In 2008, they somehow capped payday loan rates at 28%. Any company licensed as a short-term lender had to abide by that. But where one mole falls, another mole shall rise. And as of last year, there were no businesses in Ohio licensed as short-term lenders. There was, however, a sudden increase of companies registering as mortgage lenders, offering people short-term mortgages of around $300. Watch now as the lawyer for a company called Cashland explains this to a judge.
So Cashland would not be subject then to the Short-Term Loan Act because it's not registered as a short-term lender.
Exactly, Your Honor. The Short-Term Loan Act, by the legislative enactment, says it applies only to those who register under the Short-Term Loan Act.
Why even bother calling yourselves mortgage lenders? Why not just call yourselves peanut butter octopus companies? You can't regulate peanut butter octopi. They don't technically exist. And in the rare case where states succeed in imposing stringent regulations, some payday loan companies have one final trick up their sleeve.
Now, some payday lenders have found a loophole by partnering with Indian tribes that gives payday lenders the cover of sovereign immunity to avoid state regulations.
That's right. Some payday lenders are currently dressing themselves up as Native Americans. I thought only Johnny Depp was allowed to do that. How does that even work?
This payday lender, Cash Ferry, has teamed up with the Fort Belknap Indian tribe in Montana. And as you can see, they're charging online interest rates in the 700% range.
If you can become affiliated with a tribe and be able to avert local and state laws, in my opinion, apparently loan sharking is still legal in this country.
It's true. Although, let's be fair, no loan shark would ever go by the name Cash Ferry. Hey, you better get me that money by midnight or you're going to get a visit from the Cash Ferry. The Cash Ferry. Here's the problem. Payday loan companies are almost impossible to effectively regulate, and they are not going anywhere. A Pew survey found that a majority of borrowers said payday loans take advantage of them, but a majority also said they provide relief. And that is why they are so dangerous. People sometimes need them. But you have to be absolutely sure there are no better options. Apparently, 41% of those surveyed who'd taken out payday loans ended up having to borrow from family or pawn possessions or other things that they could have done in the first place just to pay off that payday loan. And yet, payday loans superficially do look easier. All these commercials, They're enticing, and they're also everywhere. The least we can do is launch a counter-campaign with a celebrity spokesperson of our own to remind people to make sure they explore all their better options first.
Hi, I'm Sarah Silverman. If you're considering taking out a payday loan, I'd like to tell you about a great alternative. It's called Anything Else. The way it works is, instead of taking out a payday loan, you literally do anything else. Sell your sperm, sell some blood, throw yourself in front of a rich guy's car. He'll throw money at the problem just to make that shit go away. Are you an old person and need money? Take things. You're old, no one's gonna stop you. You're not gonna go to jail. Go to the grocery store right now, fill up a cart with everything you need and walk the out of there. You know what? People will pay you to pee on them. That's true. Duties too. Duties are more, like double. I know this for a fact. It doesn't matter, but it's something that you have to do every day anyway, right? By not doing it, you are literally flushing money down the toilet. It's irresponsible. There's money inside of you. It's like Dorothy having the power to go home the whole time. The point is, no decision in your life will be worse than dealing with these payday loan motherfuckers. They're motherfuckers. They're fuckers of mothers. So if you're thinking about getting a payday loan, just simply pick up the phone, then put it down again and do literally anything else. Do it now.